Pretend for just a moment that the media were not shilling on behalf of Hillary Clinton. She'd be in serious trouble. With the massive coordinated hit on Donald Trump unleashed by the mainstream media over his alleged sexual assaults and harassment, the quiet implosion of Hillary Clinton's campaign has gone unnoticed. This week, Bill Clinton called Trump's base, quote, your standard redneck. This would normally be relatively crippling. The Clintons have now declared Trump's voters both deplorable and redneck, which isn't particularly smart. That, however, is the least of their worries. The Clinton team, thanks to the subservience of the media, has been able to escape talk of Bill's alleged sexual assaults and Hillary's alleged cover-ups with just a bit of head-shaking and tut-tutting. When Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway appeared on CNN with Breonna Keeler and started attacking the Clintons on these grounds, Keeler brushed her off and redirected to Trump. Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg spent their day on The View on Monday mocking Clinton's alleged victims. But in the real world, we'd be taking Juanita Broderick every bit as seriously, actually more seriously since her allegations are more serious than Trump's accusers. Then there are the leaks from the FBI. Multiple reports have emerged that the FBI and DOJ employees are devastated they failed to prosecute Hillary Clinton for obvious lawbreaking. And then there are the WikiLeaks. We now know that DNC official Donna Brazile told the Clinton campaign she had some town hall questions from CNN's upcoming event, and Roland Martin had probably sent it to her. According to Politico's Hadass Gold, Martin sent CNN producers his question. Brazile somehow obtained the question and sent it to Hillary. We also know that Doug Band, who worked for Bill Clinton, got a call from a close friend who told him that Chelsea had told one of George W.'s daughters that she was, quote, conducting an internal investigation of money within the foundation from the Global Initiative to the foundation. Not smart. Oh, so no corruption then. We also know the Democrats created a fake Catholic organization to create a quote-unquote Catholic Spring, kind of like the Arab Spring, to move the church in wild leftist ways. One of John Podesta's advisors wrote, quote, there needs to be a Catholic Spring in which Catholics themselves demand the end of a Middle Ages dictatorship. Remember, they're talking about the Catholic Church, and the beginning of a little democracy and respect for gender equality in the Catholic Church. Is contraceptive coverage an issue around which that could happen? Of course, this idea may just reveal my total lack of understanding of the Catholic Church. Yeah. Another advisor, John Halpin, wrote Podesta, quote, friggin' Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch, baptized his kids in Jordan where John the Baptist baptized Jesus. Many of the most powerful elements of the conservative movement are all Catholic, many converts from the SC and think tanks to the media and social groups. It's an amazing bastardization of the faith. They must be attracted to the systematic thought and severely backwards gender relations and must be totally unaware of Christian democracy. Jennifer Palmieri, who's Clinton's communications director, she said the Catholic converts only did so because, quote, they think it is the most socially acceptable, politically conservative religion. Their rich friends wouldn't understand if they became evangelicals. Other messages from WikiLeaks describe Hispanic party leaders as, quote, needy Latinos. All of this would be disastrous for Hillary's campaign if anybody were paying attention. They're not. Unfortunately, neither is Donald Trump. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So tons to get to today here on The Ben Shapiro Show. We'll get to all of it. We have the mailbag today. We're also going to sneak in a little Bible talk since I just did my big repentance yesterday. That means I have to talk about the Bible today. We normally would have done it yesterday, but I was too busy ensconced in prayer because that's just the kind of person I am. No, that's because that's what we're required to do. So, but first, we say hello to our advertisers over at Wink.com. So Wink.com is WINC.com. It's Club W. You remember our friends at Club W? They're the folks where you go to their website and then you type in all sorts of information about kind of the foods you like, the tastes you like, and then they recommend a bottle of wine for you. So if you don't know anything about wine, I don't know anything about wine, right? The kind of wine that I've historically liked is kind of soda water. But if you don't know anything about wine, but you want to look like you know something about wine, you want to be sophisticated about the wine that you choose with a particular meal, or you're bringing it as a gift, then Wink.com is the place to go. So Club W is now called Wink. It's WINC, as I say. It's a new name. It's an improved look, but it's still the same wine company introducing you to these new wines that you will love, and the prices are very affordable. I haven't tried the wines because they're not kosher, but all the people in the office have, which is why they're drunk all the time and the show's so bad. So they've tried the wine and they love the wine. They say that it tastes fantastic. And right now, if you go to Wink, it's offering my listeners $20 off their deal right now. Go to trywink.com/Ben. It's WINC.com/Ben. They cover the shipping as well. So you get fine wine that's personalized to your palate, and you get it for a cheap price delivered right to your door. Again, complimentary shipping, $20 off. If you go to trywink.com/Ben, make sure you use the /Ben so you get the money off. It's WINC.com, trywink.com/Ben. Alrighty, so I leave for 24 hours, and every woman west of the Mississippi accuses Donald Trump of groping her. So it's been a busy 24 hours. But I want to start with the fact that yes, conservatives have a right to be super ticked off about the media coverage of all of this because it is fully and insanely absurd. Okay, the media coverage of this. the same people who thought that it was not a big deal when Bill Clinton did all of his stuff now think it's the world's biggest deal when Trump does all his stuff. I think it's a big deal either way, because I'm still one of these people, I know it's quaint, who believes that character matters when it comes to our presidential candidates, but I'm in the minority, obviously. And the WikiLeaks revelations continue to come forth, and I just want to show how the media treat any allegations with regard to Hillary versus how they treat allegations with regard to Trump. So Jennifer Granholm is on, I think she's on MSNBC. And she suggests, she's on Bloomberg Politics, rather, and she suggests that all of this WikiLeaks, there's something nefarious behind it. There's someone behind it, probably the Russians.
You see this report, for example, from Newsweek, from a reporter whose email appeared in this WikiLeaks batch, which was, in fact, manipulated. Right. So the email that comes out is not, in fact, accurate. Yep. So you can't even validate that these are true emails. And it gets back to the point about what the heck is Russia doing interfering in our elections.
Okay, so she says that it's a conspiracy. And by the way, it probably is, right? The Russians probably are interfering in our elections, and they are using WikiLeaks as their source. Okay, that's true. And the media accept this, right? I mean, they ask questions to Donald Trump in debate about this. James Rosen reports that the WikiLeaks revealed that the DNC and CNN were actually colluding. James Rosen of Fox News. Here's his report.
Brazil only became interim DNC chair during the party's convention in July, after a WikiLeaks dump of DNC emails revealed pervasive collusion between Brazil's predecessor, Deborah Wasserman-Schultz, and the Clinton campaign against the Sanders forces. Today, Brazil said she supported both candidates and, quote, often shared her thoughts with both. As it pertains to the CNN debates, I never had access to questions and would never have shared them with the candidates if I did. The Podesta emails also show Clinton campaign press secretary Brian Fallon, formerly a spokesman for the Department of Justice, getting a heads up from an unnamed DOJ official on the night of May 18, 2015. Hey, Brian, this was filed tonight. 14 minutes later, Fallon emailed Clinton confidant Cheryl Mills to relate the tip. DOJ just filed a briefing saying the government proposes releasing HRC's cache of work-related emails in January 2016. Get out, exclaimed Mills. Palmieri then looped in Podesta and Huma Abedin to set a conference call for the morning. This will be a thing tomorrow, and she is in front of the press.
Okay, so what he's reporting is not only coordination between the media and Clinton, but also between the DOJ and Clinton. And anybody who expresses this is, of course, seen as a kook. If you say that the media is in Hillary's pocket, that's just you being kind of kooky. And if you say that the DOJ and the FBI were working in cahoots with the Clintons and giving them special treatment, that's also kooky. So this sort of thing will drive you nuts. And so when Donald Trump says that the media can't report on the establishment because they are the establishment, he's exactly right. This is what he had to say about it.
The corporate media can't report on the establishment because the corporate media is the establishment, such a big part of it. We're going to break up the special interest monopoly, and we're going to win this country back for the American people. We're going to do it, too.
Okay, so what he's saying there is exactly right, and I understand why people are so frustrated. Now, on to the actual issues. So the big issue of the day is that everybody's a hypocrite. Every person is a hypocrite, okay? The people on the right are hypocrites. The people on the left are hypocrites. The people on the left are hypocrites because they pretend that they care deeply about Donald Trump sexually assaulting people, allegedly. And people on the right are hypocrites because they apparently were lying when they cared about Bill Clinton doing it. Because you don't get to say certain sexual assault victims are better than other sexual assault victims because of the nature of the person who allegedly perpetrated. You don't get to do that, right? If you can show me evidence that Juanita Broderick is more credible than the women who are accusing Donald Trump, then I'll listen to it. If you can do vice versa, I'll listen to that too. So far, I haven't heard any of that. I've just heard a lot of people saying it's not a big deal if Trump does it because Clinton does it, and a lot of people on the Clinton side saying it was never a big deal when Clinton did it, but now it's a huge deal when Trump does all this. All that said, not to say that I'm right about everything, but I've been right about a lot of things. Here's the thing I was right about. So if you recall, back on Monday, we were reviewing the debate, and I said that this was the key moment of the debate. Here's this exchange.
Just for the record, though, are you saying that what you said on that bus 11 years ago, that you did not actually kiss women without consent or grope women without consent?
I have great respect for women. Nobody has more respect for women than I do.
So for the record, you're saying you never did that?
Things that, frankly, you hear these things are said, and I was embarrassed by it. But I have tremendous respect for women.
Have you ever done those things?
Women have respect for me. And I will tell you, no, I have not.
Okay, so no, he has not done any of those things, right? And I said at the time, I said it in real time, I tweeted it out. This exchange was the setup, and the rest of the week would be the punchline. Remember, I said this on the show, and we could pull the tape. I have the tweets to prove it, okay? And naturally, that's exactly what happens. The media then dumps every accuser that's going to accuse Trump of having groped them or kissed them without permission or any of the rest of it. So the Trump people are getting out in front of this. You have a Trump advisor named Aja Delgado, who used to work for Breitbart, as every Trump advisor apparently has. And she comes forward and she says, all of these allegations are nonsense because anybody reasonable would have already made these claims.
These allegations are decades old. If somebody actually did that, Chris, any reasonable woman would have come forward and said something.
Isn't that trivializing sexual assault? Do you think that sexual assault doesn't
the fact that in the New York Times piece itself, it mentions at the very end, gee, how convenient, that both of these women are Hillary Clinton supporters and Hillary Clinton donors. Forgive me for not finding this credible.
Okay, so she says it's not credible, and okay, so here's what I'm going to do, okay? And the problem with this argument is, of course, it works the opposite way. Kathleen Willey doesn't like Hillary and probably won't vote for her, as far as I know. Neither does Paula Jones, neither does Juanita Broderick. All these people have sided with Trump. So this argument works both ways, and here's where we get into the hypocrisy argument on both sides, and it really is kind of gross. I'm just going to show you tape of the women, and you tell me whether you think they're credible. So here's Jessica Leeds. This is one of the women who accuses Trump of having groped her, and here is her telling her story to the New York Times, and the New York Times, of course, running with this in a way they never would with Juanita Broderick.
You suppress it. It's not part of your active thinking every day, but you don't forget.
We're all over me.
It wasn't until they cleared the meal that somehow or another the armrest in the seat disappeared, and it was a real shock when all of a sudden his hands were all over me. He started encroaching on my space, and I hesitate to use this expression, but I'm going to, and that is, he was like an octopus. It was like he had 6 arms. He was all over the place. And if he had stuck with the upper part of the body, I might not have gotten that upset. But it's when he started putting his hand up my skirt, and that was it. That was it. I was out of there.
Okay, so that's her story. You either find her credible or you don't. Okay, but that's not the only story. So former Miss Utah, she says that Trump came up to her and kissed her without permission.
I remember him walking over. My dad was very confident, and he really admired Donald Trump. And so he went over and introduced himself first, and then he introduced me. And it was at that time where he turned to me and embraced me and gave me a kiss on the lips. And I remember being shocked, and because I would have just thought to shake somebody's hand, but that was his first response with me. And I remember, I was very young, and I remember feeling kind of embarrassed, like wanting to turn and almost wipe my mouth, like, what?
Okay, and so that's her story. You can either believe it or you can't. But again, the reason this is now being brought up is because of this tape from last week that with Trump bragging that he does exactly this, that he can grope women, that he can kiss them without their permission. And these are not the only 2 women who are now alleging any of this. I mean, there's like a long list of women who are alleging this. There's a bunch of teen beauty queens who are now alleging that Donald Trump walked into the dressing room while contestants as young as 15 were changing. The former Miss Vermont Teen USA, she says, I remember putting on my dress really quick because I was like, oh my God, there's a man in here. Which, by the way, Trump's best solution here would probably be to just say, I was identifying as female at the time, because we've learned that if you do that and you're a man, then it's totally fine. Then actually it'd be a civil rights violation for her to get offended. But 3 other women who asked to remain anonymous for fear of getting engulfed in a media firestorm also remembered Trump entering the dressing room while girls were changing. 2 of them said the girls rushed to cover their bodies, with one calling it shocking and creepy. The third said she was clothed and introduced herself to Trump. Okay, here are some of the other allegations that have come out. And as I said, this was all a setup from the beginning. Anderson Cooper asked this question, so now it doesn't just look like Trump did these things. It looks like Trump lied about doing these things, which is even worse. Okay, there's a girl named Jill Harth, a woman named Jill Harth. She says in 1992 that she filed a lawsuit in 97 saying Trump made a series of lewd comments about her, groped her, and raped her. She withdrew her lawsuit as part of a confidential settlement. For several months in 1998, Harth and Trump dated apparently after the lawsuit, so that's weird. And then she says she tried to bury the hatchet and reached out to him. That one does not seem as credible, just because you don't date people who have raped you typically, but it's possible. Temple Taggart, 1997, she says she was 21 when she was Miss Utah, As he kissed me directly on the lips, I thought, oh my God, gross. He was married to Marla Maples at the time. I think there were a few other girls he kissed on the mouth. I was like, wow, that's inappropriate. Okay, Rachel Crooks in 2005, she said she was working as a receptionist for a development company, and one time she saw Trump waiting for an elevator. She introduced herself. She told the Times they shook hands. He began kissing her on the cheeks and directly on the mouth. She said it was so inappropriate. I was so upset. He thought I was so insignificant he could do this. A writer for People magazine wrote a story yesterday about visiting Mar-a-Lago. She said that they were doing a story about Melania Trump being pregnant on their first anniversary. And she said, we walked into a room alone. Trump shut the door behind us. I turned around within seconds. He was pushing me against the wall, forcing his tongue down my throat. He said, you know, we're going to have an affair, don't you? She wrote, she said she was shocked. She said, for the record, I did not consent. And Cassandra Searles from 2013, she says that Trump treated pageant contestants like property. She said he groped her repeatedly, asked her to come up to his hotel room. He probably doesn't want me telling this story about that time. He continually grabbed my ass and invited me to his hotel room, she wrote in a Facebook comment. So there are lots of allegations now, and the allegations are coming fast and furious. So the Trump team is responding with denials, which is kind of normal. The problem is, the question is, do you believe any of this is believable? So we can take each of these allegations individually. When there's a huge number of women who are now saying it, though, you enter into Bill Clinton, who is never prosecuted, Bill Cosby territory, right? You do. I mean, you just, the bulk of allegations make it more believable, plus the fact that Trump makes jokes about this kind of behavior all the time. The media's making a big deal. By the way, not all of these things are a big deal. Like, for example, here's a tape of Donald Trump joking about a 10-year-old. He did this, I guess, in 1992, and the media are making a big deal out of this. This is one I don't think is a big deal.
Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
So he says to
you can hear him say,
some 10-year-old girl, he says, I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Okay, that's obviously him joking about the fact that he dates younger women. It's not him trying to, he didn't say, I want to date her now, which would be child molestation, presumably. He said, I want to date her in 10 years. You know, is it pleasant? No, but this is a guy who's also joked about having sex with his daughter. So it's kind of his sense of humor, right? All of this is true. Now, the way that the Clintons respond to all of this is just by suggesting that it's crazy that he does all of this. Because they're hypocrites. They do the exact same thing, and they're giant hypocrites, right? Trump says all this stuff. He does all this stuff. The Clintons act as though all of this is wildly new to them. How could anyone act like this? And, of course, they act like this all the time. We'll get to the Clintons in just a second, and the hypocrisy from the other side of the aisle. So, but first, we have to say hello to our friends at DSTLD.com. It's distilled, but it's DSTLD.com/Ben. If you need a great pair of jeans, if you need a pair of jeans that's a really high quality pair of jeans, instead of costing you hundreds of bucks, it costs you $65, starting at $65. There's no markup, no BS. It's great jeans. I have a pair of them. They fit really well. They're very comfortable, very high quality, and they start at $65, which is great, because if I had known that they were going to be one of our sponsors, I wouldn't have bought a $150 pair of jeans like a month ago. But they make terrific jeans. DSTLD.com/Ben. You get $10 off of your first pair, so it's more like $55. DSTLD.com/Ben for that $10 off. And you know, celebrities wear these things. I've got a pair of these jeans, and I wear them. They're part of the rotation. They're great. DSTLD distilled.com/Ben. Okay, so meanwhile, Bill Clinton's on the trail, and Bill Clinton's been hit with all these allegations because the Trump team has said we're going to go to war on the Clinton allegations, which they sort of have to do at this point. They don't have a choice. The only other thing they could do, I think this would be a smarter move, would be just to say, okay, if it's nonsense, just deny it, say it's not true. And then say, why don't we talk about the real issues? Instead, they're starting an open war over sexual assault allegations. The problem is that it's already baked into the cake for the Clintons. We've known for 20 years that Hillary covered up for Bill's sexual assaults or alleged sexual assaults. We know that Bill committed these sexual assaults or allegedly did. And so it's already baked into the cake. And so that gives the Clintons the ability to just sort of shrug at it. They just sort of shrug at it. So here's Bill Clinton shrugging at all of this.
I thought much more about her than I did about him. I'm beyond being moved or surprised.
He says, I'm beyond being moved or surprised. I just can't believe they would treat me this way. Yeah, Bill, well, at least Donald Trump wasn't putting you in the back of the Oval Office and then groping you or pulling out his ding-dong and saying kiss it, as you allegedly did. I mean, it's bad stuff. Now, the media is granting all sorts of credibility, tons and tons of credibility to all of the accusers of Trump. Here's one accuser of Clinton that they're just absolutely ignoring, no matter that she's out there speaking openly now. Here's Juanita Broderick, who accuses Bill Clinton of having raped her in 1978 and then Hillary Clinton of having intimidated her afterward. Here's Broderick. This is an interview with Breitbart News, the Trump official outlet.
and I knew I had to get out of there. Well, just as he moved, here comes Hillary straight for me. And she gets to me and she starts saying, I just want to thank you for everything you are doing in Bill's campaign, and it's so nice to meet you and all of these things. So I just nodded and told my friend, let's go. And I thought somebody from behind had grabbed a hold of my arm, but it was her. She grabbed a hold of my arm and my hand, and she pulls me into her, and she says with this very angry look on her face, which had been so pleasant seconds before, and in a low voice says, do you understand everything you do? And that frightened me.
Do you think at that point she knew that Bill Clinton raped you, or do you just think that she knew something happened? What do you think she knew?
At that moment, people have asked me that, said, well, do you think she knew what happened? At that moment, and I have to go by what I felt then, and the look that she gave me, I felt like she knew. And
that he raped you?
Yes, and that she was telling me to keep quiet.
Okay.
Keep quiet about.
So we can stop it there. So this allegation comes forward, and the media, of course, ignores it completely. We have to break there, but I want to talk about the media hypocrisy, which I think is a huge story here. Over at dailywire.com, subscribe for $8 a month, and you become part of the Daily Wire team. You get to join us with the mailbag. Are we doing mailbag today, guys, or we didn't have a chance? No mailbag today? We'll do mailbag. Okay, we'll do mailbag next week. But dailywire.com to be part of the mailbag. You can be part of the live mailbag that we normally do on Thursday. It's been a little bit delayed because yesterday was Yom Kippur, but you also get to view it live. There are a bunch of new goodies that are coming in the very, very near future to dailywire.com. And so go there, check it out, become a subscriber, and be part of the Daily Wire team, as well as part of the Ben Shapiro podcast team, the largest conservative podcast in the United States.